Before the smartphone. Before the glass slab in everyone's pocket. There was a phone with a keyboard. Not a touchscreen keyboard. A real one. 26 physical keys, each with a satisfying click. Arranged in a thumb-width arc across the bottom of a device. That fit in your suit jacket like it was made for it. It was called the BlackBerry. And if you had one in 2004, you weren't just connected. You were important. The BlackBerry was not a consumer device. It was a professional instrument. A tool that said, my time matters, my messages cannot wait. I am reachable, and I choose to be. The case was black. The screen was small. There was a scroll wheel on the side in the early models. Then a trackball, then a trackpad. The LED in the top corner blinked red when you had a message. That blinking red light became its own kind of anxiety. Its own kind of status symbol. You checked it in meetings. Under the table at dinner. At 11 p.m., at 6 am, on vacation. Not because you had to. Because it felt wrong not to. The BlackBerry didn't just change how you communicated. It changed what you thought communication was for. The BlackBerry was born in Waterloo, Ontario. A university town in Canada that nobody expected. To produce the device that would rewrite how the world worked. Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsillie built research in motion. On a simple, radical insight. Email was the most important form of business communication. And there was no reason it should be chained to a desk. The first BlackBerry shipped in 1999. It wasn't a phone, it was a two-way pager. Wireless email, delivered in near real time, to a device you carried. Wall Street adopted it first. Then Washington. Then every law firm, every consulting firm. Every executive who needed to feel like they were never out of the loop. By 2003, it had a phone built in. By 2005, it had 32 million subscribers. By 2007, it had a 30% share of the US smartphone market. They called it Crackberry. That name was not ironic. People were genuinely addicted. To the rhythm of checking, the reward of a new message. The feeling that the world was moving and you were moving with it. Barack Obama carried one. When he became president, the Secret Service told him he had to give it up. Classified communications, security protocols. He refused. They negotiated. He kept a hardened version. Stripped of most features, just enough to stay connected. That was the BlackBerry's peak moment. The leader of the free world fought to keep one. There is something nobody talks about when they talk about the BlackBerry. Not the email. Not the security. Not the enterprise features. It's BBM. BlackBerry Messenger launched in 2005. And it changed everything, not for executives, but for teenagers. For anyone who wanted to message someone and know, with certainty, that the message had been delivered. That it had been read. The blue D. The blue R. Delivered. Read. Before read receipts were everywhere. Before seen receipts were a social minefield on iMessage. BBM had it first. And teenagers built entire emotional languages around it. The fact that they were on BBM meant something. It was a closed network. You had to share a PIN. During the London riots of 2011, protesters coordinated through BBM. Because it was encrypted, fast, and the messages disappeared. The physical keyboard mattered too. Thumb typing on a BlackBerry was a skill. People developed calluses. Muscle memory. The tactile click of each key confirmed the letter. Your hands knew where they were going without looking. Ask anyone who typed on a BlackBerry for years. To use a touchscreen keyboard now. Watch what happens to their face. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and announced a device that did everything the BlackBerry did, and everything it didn't. Mike Lazaridis watched the keynote and said the battery life couldn't be real. He dismissed it. He was wrong. The BlackBerry's response was the storm. A touchscreen phone with no physical keyboard. Launched in 2008, rushed to market. The screen clicked when you pressed it. A mechanical sensation, meant to simulate what you were losing. It was not a good phone. It crashed. It lagged. It was a half measure, built by a company that didn't believe in what it was building. The enterprise world held on longer. Government contracts, security certifications, email servers. But the consumer market was gone. And then the enterprise followed. In 2016, BlackBerry announced it would stop making phones. The hardware was done. They pivoted to software, security, MDM, automotive. The company survived. The BlackBerry, as a thing you held, did not. What it left behind is harder to name. It left the idea that a phone could be a professional identity. That the device you carried said something about who you were and how you worked. It left BBM, which survived as a standalone app, briefly, before being shut down in 2019. It left the muscle memory of an entire generation of executives, who still sometimes mime a thumb-typing motion when they're thinking through a problem. And somewhere, there is probably a drawer, maybe yours, with a BlackBerry in it. Battery dead. Keyboard dusty. The red light dark and still. Once, it blinked for you.